Welcome back, South Philly Sauce, an Audacy original, brought to you by 94 WIP and Jack Daniels. Ashlyn, Sullivan, Al Morganti here with you. I just realized I'm a walking Adidas ad. They should sponsor us and pay for us here.
I'm sure you can get, Adidas, whoever, just the highest bidder, whoever it is.
Yeah, I have a feeling Adidas might be calling. But if they did, I would answer the phones. Regardless, the Flyers have only a couple of games left this season. It has been quite the up and down year, Al. Many have asked us, oh my gosh, a lot has happened this season. And I say, I know, it's been a lot. I think at times it's taken a lot longer than past seasons. At this point last year, we're gearing up for playoff planning and trying to figure out what was going on, if the Flyers are going to make it, and it certainly hasn't been the same, which leads us to our first topic, what to look for now for the Flyers with only a couple of games remaining. Why watch these games? What are you looking for? To me, the biggest thing I am concerned, confused, paying attention to is this goaltending situation. And I truthfully don't think no matter what Sam Ersson does in 7-8 games, this is going to be solidified. Sadly, I think to many Flyers fans' frustrations, we're going to go into this offseason not knowing what they have with goaltender. But I want to at least see all of these guys play to their best of their abilities. Ivan Fedotov's last game, he was excellent. He really needed a good game, and he performed. He did great. But I'm at the point now where I think it's Sam Ersson and no one else going into goaltending situations next year.
Yeah, this goaltending situation is one of the most bizarre I've ever seen, and there's no clear conversation even about it from the organization, because I don't know how far it goes beyond just the rink, dealing with what's happening with Russia and Belarus. I don't know if there's some kind of head nodding that keep somebody in the NHL or whatever. I've not been able to decipher it. I know it's got to run a little bit deeper than just performance to have three guys here out far longer than there should ever be in what's going on. I think probably we're on the same page with Ersson. It's going to be okay. He's going to be here, but at what point, what level? I think with Fedotov, I think it's important for him, even with his salary. He's got a big number for a guy that really hasn't proven himself. But I think for him to kind of establish himself as an NHL goalie, just play anywhere in the NHL. So I think that is important for him. And I think for the Flyers, I don't even know how much you could prove at this point, and to say our goaltending's sort of stable. I think it's become unstable in terms of where they're going in the future. I haven't said that. I mean, again, you're looking to kids that are coming up and years away, but you got to get through the next couple of years. And when Danny Briere mentioned they hit rock bottom when he talked right after they fired Torts, he said that they thought they had rock bottom and now they'll be adding or whatever. To me, when you say you hit rock bottom,
you better hit it.
Well, you can't be a subfloor after that. No. So, I mean, that's got to be, you have to deal with this coming in. So I am curious what's going to happen here, how many games Fedotov gets. I don't even know what his number, if another team takes a chance at him, if you're making a deal, and they've already kept so much money for so many people. So we'll see what it brings. The other guy, you want to talk about at a loss for why a goaltender's here. I don't know. I mean, why I'm saying what else is going on that we're not seeing here?
There's got to be something. Because at this point, you talk about developing the young guys, giving them a chance. You're greatly hurting his career. The dude isn't playing at all.
Yeah. So, I mean, we'll look at the goaltending, but it's hard to ask Flyer fans to kind of look at the goaltending, because it's been so long since they've had that problem. I guess it's like somebody that's got a bad lawn that every spring puts something out there and thinks it's going to be green. It's just never green. That's basically what's happened here after the whole Hart situation. So yeah, that's something to keep an eye on. There's a lot. We got a kid coming in from college to take a look at. But I think I'm real curious with Cam York, with the contract coming up, with everything that's happened. And you knew that this was going to happen. Anytime you've got a player coach thing, now there'll be all these stories coming out, like basically, oh yeah, I heard that he had an attack dog in the locker room and he set him on the coach. And then you'll hear this. And I heard that the coach took his equipment and threw it out of the locker room. All these wild stories coming out. But for York, I do think it's important that he finished strong. And for himself, obviously. I mean, we'll see what they say when the final bell rings. It's like, he's going to have surgery on his shoulder or whatever. But even beyond that, I mean, young defensemen get really a lot of money, basically, and they want a lot of years for stability. But the Flyers, this is the one guy to me that I'm like, is he going to be one of their big pieces in the future? I've always been of the school, I really like his play. I think he's going to be a solid NHL defenseman. But after what happened here, and, his play since then, I can see where they'd start to think, do we really want to invest here with him? And another team, like if I'm another team, I look at, when I see coaches like Laviolette, Torts, Tocchet at some point, I do look there and say, that's a really good player who just didn't fit. If you put him somewhere else, maybe he does. So I'm real curious how York finishes this season to come in. And Kate's kind of the same thing. Kate's, I think we already know he's going to be here. He's going to get a decent deal. He's going to be part of the future, certainly not a first liner, but he's going to be there. York's the one to me. It's like, I just wonder where this is going to go with him.
Yeah, that could go either way. I see both sides of that. My gut, and just when I think about the York situation, I think he's going to get paid more money somewhere else, because I have that situation with Torts where someone will give him the chance and the benefit of the doubt. If he's in a more free system, what does he look like? I also sadly think, we all know he's playing banged up. He's not 100%. I think that's going to greatly impact his next contract, because it was pretty clear he just hasn't been healthy. He's been out there, and it's very clear he's not playing 100%. That's going to impact, I think, his play on the ice and his future contracts. And I don't blame New York for wanting to get the most out of this. I mean, this is going to be life-changing money for him. One of those guys where I think that he's been through so much in the Flyers organization. I applaud that he's said many times, I want to be here, I want to play here. I think that's important, especially right now, to tell fans in the organization, hey, I want to be here. But I do think he'll get a bigger contract somewhere else. And I fear, with the Flyers' sake, who goes into that role then? Because as of right now, you don't have someone who can just step into that right now.
No, you may be going free agent if anybody's available. We'll see what coach they have to bring people. But I think the wild card with York is, I think he wants to stay more than leave, and it's not just words that he's saying. I think the fact that he and Drysdale are so close, and Drysdale game certainly hasn't been effective. I mean, he's getting better. He really is. I mean, I think he learned under, Bradshaw, obviously, and the whole Torts discipline thing, to play a certain way. I mean, he went through kind of like what York went through. Like, remember, it's like he was not happy about getting benched, but he came back. I thought he played better, played a different way, a defensive style. Yeah, I think that the fact that York wants to be on a team with him, that kind of play, and we'll see what happens with Shaw, which is no small thing if you're a defenseman, the attention that you get. So if I were betting on it, I would bet that he gets not a home run contract, maybe takes a bridge type of thing, but I would bet that his instinct is to stay here, that things will be far different than they were. And I don't think there's any residue from what happened with Torts. I mean, enough guys have gone through it throughout the league to kind of bounce back from that. So I don't think there's anything from that. I suspect he's going to be here, and I suspect. I mean, I think we saw him and Drysdale on a pairing last game. I wouldn't be surprised that doesn't continue through the end of the season at some points.
Yeah, which was interesting, because I always thought that pairing happened because of York and Drysdale, but Bradshaw told us at Morningsgate it was more so they wanted to get Sealer and Sanheim together. And now's the time to try this out and see what you have with nothing to lose. And I think we talk about Bradshaw's influence. He's not scared to do this right now and try these things out. Players have spoken so highly of him. It's been impressive. I think especially if someone like Cam York told me at practice the other day that they hope that he gets a shot outside of the end of the season, that they hope he gets a shot to become the full-time head coach. They love his intelligence. York, funny enough, said that he loves his calmness on the bench, which we all know was the reason of what we were talking about with Torts. Is they're opposite in that way personality-wise. It's no secret Shaw's a much more calm presence as a whole, as a person. I've been impressed how hard the team has played for him.
Yeah, I mean, there's always going to be the sugar rush on a new coach that you play better. I don't know where they're going to go with this, but I can see where, and the Flyers fans won't want to hear this, but they're probably not going to be a really good team next year still, in terms of, they're waiting for people to come. Michkov certainly take a next step. Yeah, but if you've got a guy like Shaw to kind of bridge you to go to the next one, I can see where that would make sense. He's got to learn the whole bench, I guess, if you look at, to coach the whole bench rather than just one side. It's funny when, if you never, like, fans that haven't played, I don't want to say played the game, but aren't really in tune with it. Non-hockey fans will say, well, he was a, assistant coach, but he coached the D. Like, literally in hockey, there's two sides to the bench. One side of the ice, you're changing this way, one side. So you really only literally have one side of the bench. Yeah, it's almost like football, offense and defense. Yeah, it's like guys like me in like high school were called like shopping sticks because we were in the middle of the offense and defense and never got off the bench. We just we separated the groceries. So he's coaching the one side, but now he's got the whole team there. I could buy the argument there. It's going to be really interesting to me. I mean, I think they're going to certainly look if Tocchet's available. I think that'll be a really tempting choice where to go in terms of who comes in. But Bradshaw's a safe choice to get you through on what's going on. Who knows? I mean, maybe it turns out later in his career, he turns into, wow, he's a great head coach all the time. He's just on the other side of the bench. So we'll see where it goes. And I don't know how much player interviews certainly will play some into it. I don't know if they're necessarily going to tip the scale totally in his way. But I think there's a chance. And I think right now it's a good situation to be in to just kind of get through the remainder of the season. And as I mentioned before, with York's situation being so important, to kind of have Shaw there to see what's going on.
Agreed. I see both sides to that. And I do think normally when you see something like this happen, they go in the opposite direction of a coach, of a personality, of anything. Where Tocchet isn't exactly that, but a teeny bit. So I'm curious how they draw that line.
Tocchet, he's not he's a disciplinarian, but the difference, I think, between there's a lot of differences, but one of the differences between Tortorella and Tocchet, remember, Torts would say he wants the player to come knock on my door, to the point where Couturier, like, what's going on? And finally, Frost went and knocked on the door, and I don't think York ever did. Talk will go to you to talk, literally. Tocchet isn't like, I'm going to wait him out to see. I want to wait for a confrontation to come. Plus, if he had a chance here, and I don't think, I've not talked to him about it, but I just know him. And I know everybody has misgivings sometimes about being in Vancouver, which is a tough market to be in for a hockey coach. And that whole situation that they've gone through with Patterson, there's a lot of stuff going on in Vancouver. But Tocchet, to me, if you're looking at the difference between, as you said, you usually go from one type of coach to another. He's very much make you do things the, quote, right way, but he's far different in terms of, I think his communication is way different. And I know he's gone to many players, including there in Vancouver, where what went on, to go to the players involved and seek them out rather than waiting for a knock on the door.
Yeah, and that'll be a big difference if that works out here in Philadelphia. And you got to imagine for guys like Travis Konechny, Travis Sanheim, guys that are pillars of this organization, that this organization has invested a ton of money into and has built around. TK, a career year in points, and when that happened, frankly, I was a little bit surprised because of the scoring drought. I didn't think he could reach that milestone, and I think when we get to the end of the season, which we're basically here, only a couple games left, yes, career high in points for TK, but I still think you're going to look at this year for TK and be a bit disappointed in it.
Yeah, because of the 20 whatever game stretch there, where just like imagine that he scored his usual number of goals, or what? This is after the Four Nation basically come back. I mean, it would have made a big difference in what went on. No question, he's even when you go through a stretch like that and still have numbers that he has, that can be viewed as a good sign that it never goes that far south on him. And you also have to take into account, I don't know how difficult it is, but you can say that, go out there and they do have an effort every night. But when you're a player that's been here a while, to not have to be almost certain, and God knows, so early in the late season that you're not going to the playoffs, that's tough. If you're a kid like a York or whatever, playing for a contract, they say, well, Konechny's not playing for a contract, Sanheim's not playing for a contract. They're not trying to make impressions, whatever. They've got to grind through it. And that's what's been with Sanheim for me particularly impressive, that despite this, it's like, okay, going to go out there, going to play hard, sealer, going to go put your body in front of something, you're going nowhere, but you still go out and do it. And Sanheim, all the minutes, come in, play hard. And Konechny, look at the assists that he had. Michkov's success, in part is people that are getting used to playing with him, knowing where he's going to be, set him up to take off on a play or whatever, and being where Michkov needs you to be coming in. He's a strange player to play with in terms of anticipation of where the puck is going to go. So I give those guys a lot of credit for having an A effort as the season winds down, because it ain't easy. It's not easy when you've been out for this many years. I'm kind of glad Risto didn't end up that poor guy had never been there. Buffalo, then Philadelphia, and to come out and play the way you do, play hard. So and when you're a team leader, a captain, you have to do it to get the other players to come in and give that top effort.
Absolutely, yeah. And then Travis Sanheim, I think we'll look at solid minutes. A guy that you can always count on, a guy that eats minutes, that is always on the ice, that is so consistent. And while he won't jump off the page sometimes, a guy you can always count on, which is well worth the contract for the Flyers.
Yeah, and he made his name for himself this year. That Four Nation, just be a name to it, even though Konechny was benched or didn't play in, I think, 2 of the games. Yeah. But Sanheim was there. That adds to not just your resume, but it adds to your confidence that you're one of those guys that played in that. That you're that good. That certainly feeds into your confidence to come in and play. And I think we've seen that with Sanheim.
Agreed. So a lot to be made of this Flyers season, a lot to unpack, which is what we will continue to do as the season winds down with only a couple games left to be played. And that is South Philly Sauce, an Audacy original, brought to you by 94 WIP and Jack Daniels. We'll see you next week.